So there I am, right? Just driving along on my way back from the supermarket, doing my weekly shop, and out of seemingly nowhere, just start to cry. So first, just a couple of tears rolling down my cheeks, and then the tears start to grow. I start to sob, and then I start to really cry. You know when you're like ugly crying. Yeah, so I'm ugly crying and I'm taking a detour on my way home, and the tears just keep going to the point of I'm starting to panic. It's all too much, and I have to pull over to the side of the road. And the only thought that's going through my head on repeat with this like panic thought is I just can't do this anymore. I cannot do this anymore. I just can't do this anymore. So let me provide a bit of context. I was in a situation that just no longer felt right for me. There wasn't anything seemingly wrong with the situation I was in. I was in a relationship that was wonderful in many ways. I was so happy in many ways. I had a lovely home, a beautiful dog, partner, work, money was coming in. But there was this deeper, stronger feeling in my gut that I just wasn't choosing myself. There was this calling that I just wasn't being who or what I wanted to be. It was like I was hiding. It was like I was putting my energy into everything other than myself. And as a result, I was so tired. I was exhausted. I was putting everyone else's needs before mine. And not because they were asking for it, but because I was doing that as my own choice, really. I suppose I believed that that's what they needed or wanted from me. But did they really? Anyway, in this moment of complete breakdown, I had a choice. I realised I had a choice. I knew that I could either stay and realise I was abandoning myself, or I could take a bigger leap and change the situation and figure it out as I went. Figure out what I needed for me. I knew that I was going to need some space to kind of work through this and make a decision that I felt comfortable with. I knew I was going to need some help to do that. One thing was sure, I was not going to be the person that abandoned themselves again. I had come too far and I had been through too much to really set my dreams aside for any longer. And my heart was calling me. I'd made a promise to myself. I'd made a promise to be true to myself. I wanted to have the confidence to really step forward and be my authentic self, to start to teach and share everything that I had already learned, to have the confidence to speak up, to step forward into the known and have the trust and faith that the universe had my back. I wanted to get my enthusiasm back. I wanted to get my sense of possibility and hope back. And yet here I was, choosing to support others rather than myself, to love others rather than myself, and to heal others rather than myself. I didn't know it then. I didn't have the language specifically, or wasn't clear on the terminology, but I was still trapped in the patterns of codependency. There was these parts in myself, in my subconscious, that I wasn't aware of, that were screaming for my love, and instead I was giving that love to sources outside of myself that mirrored those same parts within. So I had a deep calling that I needed to this time choose myself, and I realised that if I didn't start choosing myself now, I was going to really bitterly regret it. That I was going to go through the same loop that I had gone through 4 years before, when I had been trapped in a relationship that also didn't serve me. Completely different situation in the sense that it was a destructive, toxic relationship. But again, leaving that was such a breakthrough, and we spiral these teachings in our life, right? It's not a linear path. So the breakthrough of that previous relationship had led me on this incredible journey to India for 8 months, where I met the Dalai Lama. I hiked to Everest Base Camp. I retrained as a yoga teacher, Reiki healer, breathwork and meditation teacher. I completely changed my life, And yet, here I was running around making other people's dreams come alive. I was working for other people's studios or businesses, helping get them off the ground. I was focused on the healing of those people that I loved. That wasn't my responsibility, and neither did they need me to do that, but I had taken that on because it was easier than looking within. I knew I wanted to teach what I'd learned when I was in India. I knew I wanted to teach what I'd learned when I had stepped out of that relationship. I knew I wanted to be able to live and work anywhere and to travel and to work remotely online and use the coaching skills that I had trained in. But something had gone awry, and I had set this aside because it was easier to hide, it was easier to stay in the safety of a relationship. And I was going to have to unhook these codependency ties once and for all if I was really going to step forward, and that scared me. Because let me explain this to you. Like, the current relationship I was in, there was nothing wrong with it. It was beautiful and loving and supportive and kind and soft, and there was a deep kind of twin flame connection. In many ways, the best relationship I've ever had. But at that stage in my journey, something was telling me it did not feel right for me. And I knew this next chapter, for whatever reason, I had to take alone. My soul was calling. I knew I wanted to move abroad. I knew I wanted to spend some time in Bali. I knew I had to do it. And I knew I had to come home to my full, authentic, whole self before I could show up properly and give my whole heart in a relationship. So I did it. I got a coach. I started doing some of the deep inner work. I booked onto a coaching program, and I sat down to have that hard conversation with my partner about what I really needed without it being about them. And it was the polar opposite of the breakdown and the break up that I had previously. It was a really conscious uncoupling. It was a really beautiful experience. I wasn't able to move out for a couple of months, so we transitioned to friends first. We re-established new boundaries. We grieved what we were walking away from. We stepped into action of figuring out what we both needed. We communicated with compassion and respect, and we held space for each other. And I learnt through this process what parts of myself I had been avoiding. It became the first step of a major breakthrough that I've had in rebuilding the deepest and most powerful relationship I'm ever going to have, which is with myself, my true, whole and authentic self. So if this resonates with you, if you feel like you have experienced or are experiencing a pattern of self-abandonment, of hiding, of playing small, and of choosing to put your energy in people or situations outside of yourself that just isn't serving you anymore, I really invite you to take this step, book onto the Breakthrough course, use the next 6 weeks as a way to really firmly re-establish who you are and who you want to be, and choose yourself as you step forward into this next incredible breakthrough, this next change of your journey, and start the most important relationship you're ever going to have with your whole, true, authentic self.